Greeting, ye seekers of knowledge. 'Tis I, Rocksteady. Today, on this hallowed Halloween special, we will be unlocking the secrets of the mystical pumpkin. We will unlock the secrets with the power of ultrasonics. Prepare yourselves, for we are about to extract all of the things. Welcome to the channel and happy Halloween. This week on Extract All the Things, we'll be doing the field pumpkin, also known as Curcubito Peepo. I'm probably mispronouncing that. The field pumpkin is ubiquitous across the Americas. You know, it's one of the oldest known cultivated plants. Humans have been farming and cultivating pumpkins for thousands and thousands of years. They are a cultural icon in America. You know, you see a lot of pumpkins around Halloween and Thanksgiving, all that kind of stuff. You know, they kind of usher in the change of the seasons, right? You know, the field pumpkin comes in a wide range of sizes and shapes. They're farmed commercially. Here's what a pumpkin field looks like. Pumpkins is pretty much as far as the eye can see. You know, field pumpkins can come in a wide range of shapes and sizes, you know, from small handheld sized pumpkins like this to, you know, larger jack-o'-lantern size pumpkins like this, all the way to pumpkins that are massive and many, many hundreds of pounds. So the material we're actually extracting today is going to be this pumpkin powder that is essentially a pumpkin that's been ground down and dried and all that good stuff. We'll see what it yields. I'm pretty excited. We're gonna do a quick smell test. I don't know what to expect, but let's find out. So that's like a lot more bitter than I expected. For me, it's like the only way I've ever consumed pumpkins has been like pumpkin pie or something like that. I've always associated pumpkins with like sweetness, but evidently the actual material is quite bitter. But it's like bitter and earthy, and like there's this pungent kind of twang to it. It's not a pleasant smell. You know, I would give it a probably like a 5 out of 10 on the smell scale. It's nothing to write home about. We'll see what the extract smells like, you know, if it smells any better or any worse. Curious to see, you know, what we yield. Should be interesting. It should be noted that pumpkins are going to have a fairly bioactive extract. You know, there's a lot of compounds that are found within them. They're not generally extracted for medicinal purposes, but they do have compounds that absolutely would have medicinal benefits. But overall, it's not that exciting, pharmacologically speaking. You know, there's a lot going on in a pumpkin, don't get me wrong. There's a reason why pumpkins are not seen as a primary like health supplement or dietary supplement or something like that. They're very cool, don't get me wrong. Like there's some great polyphenols and essential oils and, you know, volatile compounds, various terpenes, you know, all that kind of stuff. Our primary target for today's extraction is going to be a carotenoid known as beta-carotene. Beta-carotene is the pigment that is responsible for the characteristic colorations of the field pumpkin. You know, literature reports it at being yellow to red, and as evidenced by the coloration of the pumpkin, it is definitely somewhere in that spectrum. There's going to be a wide range of other carotenoids that we might pull with it as well, but predominantly we're going to find beta-carotene in abundance in our ethanol extract. To do today's extraction, we're going to be using a technique known as ultrasonic-assisted extraction. I've touched on this technique before. You know, I think it was Egyptian chamomile. We did an ultrasonic-assisted extraction. But in that ultrasonic-assisted extraction, we used a sonicator bath, which will work, and it's still, you know, ultrasonic-assisted extraction at the end of the day, but it's not going to be as good as the technique I'm going to show you today. For today's extraction, we're going to be using an ultrasonic horn, which will go directly in the solution, and it's going to promote, you know, just a better interaction between the ultrasonic waves and the actual biomass itself, right? And those ultrasonic waves are going to go and disrupt those plant cell walls and lyse the cells, and that's going to help extract out all of the goods within. It has its pros and cons, and I'll touch upon that, you know, later in the episode. But yeah, we're going to be using a different style of ultrasonic-assisted extraction, and I'm excited to see how it yields. If you like this kind of content, please comment, like, subscribe. It really helps out the channel. You know, I've been super busy lately, so I haven't had the most time to post. I love making these videos. I had to make a Halloween episode. This is the Halloween special, and yeah, happy Halloween. Welcome to the bench. taken all the proper safety precautions. I'm wearing my safety glasses, my lab coat, gloves, and I've turned ventilation on in my workspace. And to begin, we're going to take our beaker. This is just a standard 1,000 milliliter beaker. But now we're going to take our pumpkin powder, and we are going to weigh out 100 grams. 98, 100. And there we have it. There's our 100 grams of pumpkin powder. To do today's extraction, we're going to be using grain alcohol. I use this a lot in my videos just because it's an easy solvent to work with. Grain alcohol is 95% ethanol, 5% water. This is a fresh bottle. I have yet to crack it. Now, to do this extraction, we're going to use a 4-to-1 ratio. So for 100 grams of pumpkin powder, we're going to use 400 grams of our ethanol. Okay, now that that's out, we're going to pour 400 grams of ethanol. All right, final weight ended up being 404 grams, so a little bit heavy. And right off the hop, you guys could see just how yellow that stuff is. It's actually quite beautiful. So that's going to be probably one of the main contributing components to that coloration is definitely going to be our beta-carotene, which is super cool. You know, I knew this was going to be a fun extraction, but yeah, it's a gorgeous color. It almost looks like that turmeric that we extracted. But not quite as intense. We're going to stir this up real quick. I just have a glass stir rod just to kind of get everything in suspension. And now we can begin setting up our sonicator. So it's going to look a little something like this. So what we got here is a Cross International ultrasonic homogenizer. This is an older unit. It's probably about 5 or 6 years old. It's done me wonders. It comes with this noise isolating chamber, which is really, really nice. Ultrasonics is inherently very noisy, and it's not a very pleasant noise. So having this chamber is definitely a nice touch. There's tons and tons of potential applications for this kind of technology. Obviously today we're using it for extraction, right? You know, we're essentially using those ultrasonic waves as a physical means to disrupt the plant cell wall to increase extraction efficiencies. It's probably overkill for pumpkins, but you know, smoke them if you got them, right? But it is not overkill for other plant species out there, especially fungal species, because well, their cell walls are just super, super hard to disrupt. You know, you got to think of them like a little suit of armor, right? Essentially, what you got going on here is you have your HMI, so your human-machine interface. This is going to have a bunch of features. You know, like you can control a bunch of different parameters of the system. So you can control like the horn on time, the horn off time, and the horn is this guy right here, right? So this is your ultrasonic horn, right? And essentially all of the ultrasonic vibrations are forced down this shaft and into this point. And this point is what is actually in your solution. And the ultrasonic waves are emitted from here. And yeah, they blast your solution with ultrasonic waves. Blasting your solution with ultrasonic waves, you're putting energy into that system, right? And that'll undoubtedly manifest itself as heat, right? And yeah, you'll see solution temperatures rise. And ultrasonics is actually a fascinating technology. Like it's a huge, huge rabbit hole. Like there's a lot of cool applications. You know, it's called sonochemistry. Right, and it's one of those fascinating subjects. So just while I've been kind of explaining what this system is and everything, our material is already extracting very finely. It's a beautiful color, and like, I smell the aroma of pumpkins coming off of this. It's actually pretty wild. I didn't think it would be that strong and that familiar. And there's a little platform. Make sure the probe is in the solution. Make sure a thermocouple is in the solution, and close the door, and we're ready to go. So we've got the system set up, we got it loaded, and now we're gonna send it on its way. To begin that, I'm just simply gonna hit this button right here, and the system is operating. Now we're gonna let it run its method, but yeah, let's see what we got going on here. So we got the system running right now, and I put a light in there so we can hopefully see what's going on. It's a ton of tiny, tiny bubbles that are rising. Now let's see if you guys can hear what this system sounds like. So I'm gonna open up the door. You guys hear that? That kind of like high-pitched buzz? It's a wild sound. So now we just wait for the machine to finish its method. Pretty much all we gotta do is sit and watch it and make sure it doesn't explode, as always. Once we're done with this extraction, we will move to 2 stages of filtration. The first stage of filtration will be a rough filtration that's gonna remove the biomass from the solution. You know, we don't want any of that extracted material to end up in our crude product. The second stage of filtration is going to be a much finer filtration. After we do the filtration, we will move to Solvent Recovery. We'll recover it via rotary evaporator, and yeah, we'll see what we made. And you know, if you have a good, oh, method just ended. Gave us a nice happy beep. So we completed our extraction, and we're moving on to our filtration. We yielded this gorgeous orange-colored solution. You know, just compare that to the pumpkin itself. And it's kind of close. It's kind of close. That's pretty wild. And also, I noticed that we have some lipids or waxes floating on the surface of our solution. Looks very interesting. But we're going to begin by stirring up our material, just getting all the sediment up and in suspension. Yeah, no, we got that all stirred up. We're just going to be using a standard vacuum flask for this filtration with a coffee filter. We're going to start by turning on the pump, pairing the paper, and pouring in our solution. We have this beautiful golden amber filtrate being filtered from our solution. It looks pretty awesome. And you got to remember that this first stage of filtration is just simply to remove all of the large particles. We're going to be doing another stage of filtration, which is probably overkill. And that's the last of it. The funnel seems to be running pretty quickly right now. We have this beautiful dark orangish amber color filtrates, and yeah, it's running pretty quick. So this should be done fairly quickly. We'll see how long it takes to dry the extracted biomass, you know, get all the solvent out of it. No, it looks pretty good so far. It smells like straight pumpkins right now too, which is kind of awesome. We completed our rough filtration, and yeah, we're gonna begin prepping for our finer filtration. But yeah, that went pretty quickly. So vent the system real quick. Dispose of that. And you can see we yielded a very orangish red filtrate. It's quite a gorgeous color. We're moving to the next stage of filtration now, and we're doing 2 stages of filtration with this extraction because it's good practice too when you're working with ultrasonic homogenizers and also high shear homogenizers to ensure that you filter your material really well. Specifically with ultrasonic homogenization, you're causing cavitation in the solution, right? And that cavitation can slowly erode that emitter and put very small, minute chunks of metal into your product. And the same goes for high shear. It's just good practice to ensure that you filter anything that comes out of a high shear homogenizer or an ultrasonic homogenizer to the nth degree. You just want to ensure that you don't impart any metal bits into your product, and it's just good practice too. We're going to be filtering our solution through a DC-VC column that's been slurry loaded with silica. I already went ahead and prepared the silica slurry, so yeah, let's begin. We'll start by loading up the column with our silica gel. So we'll just pour that in here. Okay, there we go. We loaded our column. It's a little uneven, but that's okay for some basic filtration like this. You know, we're not attempting to do chromatography or anything like that. Mainly, we're just using the Silica 60 as a filter media to catch any like super fine particulate matter that potentially would have gotten through a coffee filter. That's highly unlikely, but better safe than sorry. You know, it doesn't take much time to do a quick filtration like this. If you're using high shear or ultrasonic homogenization, just ensure you filter it really well. This is probably completely overkill. We're going to begin our filtration, so I'm going to engage the vacuum pump, wipe off any vacuum grease, and yeah, we're going to send it. Look at that beautiful color. Almost could fill the whole column. Awesome. That took all of 5 minutes and is now complete. And we're ready to take this solution to Solvent Recovery, and we'll see what our crude product looks like. Okay, so we're over at the Rotovap now, and we're just letting the water bath heat up and also the chiller cool down. So we'll begin operations here pretty soon. So typically on the channel, we run a Rotovap with a bump trap right here, right? Like it's my preferred way to run a Rotovap. You know, if I could run a bump trap, I usually do. But for today's Solvent Recovery, we're going to be running it in a continuous feed configuration. So we'll be using this valve right here to feed our boiling flask down here. We'll make an addition by turning this valve, and the vacuum in here will pull solution from this hose. And here's a excellent pro tip for you guys. So on the tip of my feed hose, I have a 1 micron stainless steel carbonation stone, right? And these are great. Essentially, this is another stage of filtration. It's a good technique to just ensure you don't get any particulate matter into your boiling flask and into your crude product. And they're super nice to have around the lab. You know, I have tons of these because I just find so many different uses for them. And then once the system is at temp, we can begin. So now the system's at temp and we're ready to proceed with Solvent Recovery. So we'll engage the vacuum pump, let it pump down a little bit, and yeah, we'll send it. And we'll begin rotation. We'll go ahead and make our first addition. Being careful not to bump, of course. But you can see we already have condensation on our condenser. And yeah, we'll let it run and see what our crude product looks like. Excited. Okay, we're almost to the point of getting the rest of our solution in there. So I'm gonna do this, hopefully final addition without having it bump. Okay, so we completed our Solvent Recovery. Let's see what our crude product looks like. We have a beautiful reddish orange oil, quite nice looking. So here's our crude product from an ethanol extraction of pumpkin. It yielded this beautiful kind of reddish orange oil that is thinner than I expected it to be. You know, you can see it's kind of moving around in there. And I let it sit on the Rotovap for, you know, a little while, so it definitely devolatilized. But we're gonna do a quick smell test of it real quick. You know, the raw biomass was like a 5 out of 10. You know, it wasn't the most pleasant smell. It's a pumpkin at the end of the day. We'll see how this stuff smells. So that smells pretty wild, actually. It smells like a field of pumpkins, just like concentrated pumpkin. It's like robust and kind of bold, right? With a little bit of bitterness. It's still not a pleasant smell, you know, it's nothing like chamomile or lavender or anything, you know, good smelling like that. But I will say it is an improvement over the raw material. At least there's more smell there, so to speak, or more complexity there. And you know, I'll give it a 6 out of 10. I'd say it's an improvement over the starting material. But yeah, no, I'm pleased with that, and yeah, I just made a beautiful product. And it's definitely interesting. It's like a yellow oil, and then you have these specks in there, which is probably lipids or like waxes or something like that. You know, we took no like real steps for selectivity, you know, especially being that we did ultrasonic-assisted extraction. We just pulled out everything that the ethanol was capable of pulling out, right? And that's also a lot of impurities and undesirables. Remember, our primary target for this extraction was beta-carotene, and I would definitely say we were successful in extracting it. We also extracted a bunch of other stuff. We'll calculate yields right now because I'm pretty curious. There's 11 grams of oil in here, which isn't bad. We yielded a 11% yield. So now I have the unfortunate task of scraping this out of here and putting it in a test tube to store in the Extract All the Things library. It was a fun extraction. We extracted pumpkin, and now we're going to test it. This is not going to be a quantitative analysis. This is just, I'm going to show you guys a spectra, essentially. Maybe in a future video we'll do a more quantitative analysis of this, but this is already a long video. This is a Shimazdu HPLC. This thing is a beast. And right now the column is just being prepared. You know, we have a sample loaded up in here. Right here is our pumpkin sample. So we'll go ahead and start the run. So we'll initialize it. Should be going any second now. Yeah, there we go. But yeah, so this method is just based off something I quickly pulled out of literature. You know, there's definitely room for improvement, but we see a spectra, which is pretty cool. But right now we're generating our spectra and we're scanning. There's our first peak. It's a big one. It's eluting from the column fairly rapidly. Very, very intense. Nice and sharp too. There's a little bit of a shoulder right there, so there's probably coelution with that peak. That's okay. Like I said, this isn't a dialed method or anything like that. We're just trying to generate a spectra. But yeah, here's our first peak, and it's clustered up fairly heavily. So usually you like to see it come down to baseline. You know, like this area, we'll have to dial in the method to stretch this out a little bit, just so we get better resolution of whatever's in these areas. But like I said, I'm not even running a standard with this, so it's kind of like just for funsies. Currently we're scanning at 210 nanometers. We got another big peak coming down right there. So the run is starting to progress, and we're seeing more peaks. But yeah, whatever's eluting fairly rapidly at like the 1 minute mark to the 2.5 minute mark, you're definitely getting coelution there. And yeah, we can definitely in a future video reapproach this, but you know, actually develop the method and spend some time, you know, optimizing the method. These are great tools. They're very, very powerful. So there's tons of stuff that we can do with them, and yeah, we can do some cool science, and yeah, make some cool content, some cool videos. And at the end of the day, like, you know, if I inspire even a couple of people to pursue chemistry, you know, then that's a win in my book. And you know, everything's worth that. So here's what our final spectra looked like, and like I said, we got to work on this front section because there's just a ton of coelution and convolution up here. But other than that, look, it looks like you have, you know, 3 main products, right? And you have a bunch of other stuff. So yeah, a bunch of other stuff. So overall, I mean, it's a definitely a rich extract. You know, there's going to be a lot of compounds in there. You know what I mean? Like I said, this is in no way intended to be quantitative. It's just for funsies, just to show you guys that this pumpkin extract has a spectra like this. We did it. We successfully extracted pumpkins utilizing ultrasonic-assisted extraction, and we yielded a beautiful reddish-orange oil that is surprisingly aromatic. This whole room right now just smells like pumpkins. It's quite the amazing thing, actually. But yeah, I was pleased with this extraction. I especially like how that across international system extracted our material. It did a very, very thorough job. Totally overkill, but it was pretty cool. So we'll definitely run that system more, as well as some other unique extraction techniques. Happy Halloween. If you got this far, thank you. I appreciate all of the support. If you like this kind of content, please comment, like, subscribe, you know, all that kind of stuff. Really helps me out with the algorithm. And shout out to Goldly Scientific. They're friends of the channel, and yeah, go hit them up. They're good people. Thank you, you know, and I will catch you guys in the next one.